Welcome, Gary, to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
It's excellent to have you. I'm really excited to talk with you and kind of pick your brain a little bit about, leadership and moving into a more empowered state in our lives. And so, you work in this space. This is your zone of genius. Where in the world are you tuning in from?
I'm in Florida. I'm a New Yorker that transplanted down to the South Florida area around Fort Lauderdale. And I've been here 8 years now, so I don't know how much longer I can say that I'm a New Yorker, but I'm gonna keep claiming that flag as long as I can.
Perfect, perfect. I love it. New Yorker, Florida, all the good places. Excellent. Oh, that's so good. Okay, okay. So, what brought you into the work that you do, Gary?
Oh man. So, my first career, I was an art director. I
Okay,
went to the School of Visual Arts, and my first job was at Sony Music designing CD packages. So I'm dating myself a little bit here.
fine.
Um, and I loved it. It was like, I worked really hard. I graduated top of my class. I had, at 22, I was an art director at Sony Music. Like I had accomplished this thing, right? And to add to that, I was the first one in my family to graduate from college. My parents migrated here from the Dominican Republic. So it was just like a big moment in my life to accomplish this thing that I have been working towards. And when I got to Sony, I very quickly started to realize that I was very prepared for how to make something look pretty, how to make it look beautiful, but I was very unprepared for navigating the complexities of corporate America, of a build. I mean, I was on. It was a huge building, 29 stories, like thousands of people, and part of my job was to art direct these photo shoots with the artists. So I would have to get the artists, their management, their entourage, whoever showed up that day, the record label, marketing, A&R, hair, makeup, stylist, props. I had to get all of those people to collaborate and come together under one vision. And did I mention that I was 22 years old?
Fine.
I was so in over my head. Oh my God. And so I like just did my way to fake it till I made it, and I was there for about 4 years. And I think if you ask anybody, I was doing a fine job. But in my experience, it was like terrifying every day, right? And so I thought, okay, you know what? Maybe Sony's not the right space for me. And I left and I went to work at a smaller agency, also very prestigious. And I was doing theater posters and theater marketing for Broadway shows. Really
Okay.
amazing. Got to see my stuff all over New York City, plastered everywhere. But the same thing was happening to me. 4 years, I was like every day showing to work, even though it was a much smaller team. I still was like just not feeling confident and not feeling like I was handling these situations with power. And so finally I said, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna go work for myself. That's the key, right? If I go work for myself, then I don't have to deal with all of this. And of course, I took myself there as well, right? So I started to really realize that it was time for me to start figuring out what this was and what what did I need to do to feel confident in these situations and own myself. And so I started to explore therapy. I started to explore different things. And I discovered this program where I went through a leadership training, and it was like, oh my God, light bulb went on. All of a sudden, all these tools, all these frameworks that I needed to feel like I could really drive life started to show up and be taught to me. And so I was blessed enough that when you graduated from that program as a student, they basically invited you to be a coach, a mentor to the next class. And so I said,
Cool.
okay, absolutely. I want to give this back. Somebody gave months of their time to me. I want to give this back. And that's when this light bulb went on. And I realized, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I could have a conversation with somebody and that conversation can change the trajectory of their life, can impact their life. I was like, oh no, that's it. Sign me up. Like this is it. Like I want to do this every day of my life. And so that same company offered me a part-time job, and I signed up to work there as a coach just for fun. I was still designing on my own. But very quickly it was one of those spaces where there were hundreds of people coming through the doors every month. So I was able to really develop my skills, really develop my ability to do what I do with people. And it's such a blessing, as you know, to get to have the types of conversations that help people and make a difference for them. And it's just been a real blessing. And yeah, so leadership, I'm probably more of a mindset coach, but I really call myself a leadership coach because I believe that leadership is really the distinction that allows you to drive life. When we think of leadership, we often think of leadership as out there. It's like, you have to have a team, you have to have a title, you have to have, certain diplomas on the walls or whatever that say that you are a leader. And, you know, as you know from your personal stories, it's like that type of leadership is not what gets you through the rough moments in life. Like that type of leadership is not the type of leadership that gets you through, whether it's like launching a business, healing from an illness, navigating challenges in the family, navigating those challenges that life puts on your lap without any warning in the middle of the night. And like those are moments of leadership, but we don't call those moments leadership, right? We don't think of them because we think of leaders as like these, whatever we have these stereotypes that leadership, but I'm like, no, no, no. Those are moments of leadership and probably the most profound ones that you will ever have. So yeah, it's my backstory and a little bit of
Love
why I
that.
do what I do.
Yeah. Wow. A winding road that brought you to that.
Yeah, yeah,
And this light bulb moment of like, hey, I want to impact people. I want to make a big difference for them. I want their lives to be changed as mine
yeah,
has in this same kind of leadership mindset sort of space. That's just the very definition of paying it forward.
yeah, yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. Very cool. I love that. Okay. And so you've moved into this leadership space. What do you find have been some of your, really powerful tools that you utilize in your own life when you're going through maybe a stressful situation or a difficult situation that can be really impactful?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? How much time do we have?
Yeah.
I think we are our biggest clients, right?
Mm,
Like,
true.
and I think I'm proud of that, but I also want to say that, I think in order to do the work that we do, we have to live it. You know,
True.
it's very difficult to do this authentically and in a impactful way if you're not your best student, if you're not your best. So I think that's the first thing, right? That you because the ego wants to make it like you arrive somewhere, right? My ego wants to go. I mean, I'm honestly going through a little bit of that now as well because I I opened my business in 2008, my coaching practice, and then around 2016, I went to work for one of my corporate clients, and so I closed my coaching business down and I went to run their in-house training department. And I was running lead the training for 25,000 people in the sales field. So it was a really big opportunity. It was a beautiful company and I loved it. And it was such a great opportunity. So I was there, long story short, kept getting promoted, kept getting promoted, kept getting promoted, and eventually wasn't doing what I love to do anymore, which is working with people directly. I was now like a C-suite strategy and all that kind of stuff. So now so I decided to leave about 2 years ago and
Okay.
relaunch my business. So I'm in startup mode again, right? I'm in the
Yeah.
beginning again, but my ego doesn't like it, right? My
Hmm.
ego's like, no, we've done this before. We've already built a business. you were an executive for a company with a gold card, and you know, and it's like it's like the ego wants to go, oh, like, no, you, yeah, it's like, no, you're a student, you're still learning, there's still, we are still learning, and there's always something to learn, and we never are. The moment we climb one step, we find ourselves at the beginning of the next one, right?
Yeah.
And there's no way to escape that. And I think that reminding myself of that, humbling myself, um, it the other thing about it too, it keeps us curious about what's possible for ourselves. Because the
Mhm.
moment that we think we know the answer, we stop looking for
True.
what, you know, and this is true whether you're going through any type of life change, or it's like when we think we know how the outcome is going to go, well, then the game's over,
Yeah.
right? The game is over. And it's and you know, I'm helping my mother right now. Like, my mother's getting older now, and she's, you know, as she's gotten older, she's starting to really struggle with anxiety and depression, and so I'm having to like really step in a whole new way, and I go, okay, now, like, there's a state change happening in, you know, that moment that where the child now has to really step in and start. So I'm kind of going through that. But one of the biggest challenges that I'm having with
Yeah.
her is that I can't get her to believe in something being possible, right? So
Okay.
all the therapy in the world that I get her, all the resources, all the acupuncture, all the herbs, all the stuff that we're like really working to give her, if you don't believe in something is possible, if you don't believe that it could be any different, if you don't believe that there's another way, another possibility for you, it
Mm.
just shuts down, you know, what's possible. And so
So she hasn't been a student.
she has not been a student. She has not been a student, but also it's like more than a student, it's just like having a sense of wonderment, a sense of like, what if?
Mm.
What if? Does it have to be this way? And I want to just say that it takes work to nurture that, you
Oh,
know.
yeah.
And I think that that's also a moment of leadership, that so many people choose not to believe out of fear of having their heart broken, out of fear of failing. So that idea
Yeah.
of staying in possibility and staying in
Mm.
wonderment is risky, is vulnerable, you know.
Course.
It's because it may not work out and your heart might get broken. So I really, really get it. And it is another moment of leadership where you just go, okay, what if I'm wrong here? Right?
Yeah.
What if I'm wrong? What if this could work out? What if something else is possible? And I don't have to have all the answers, right? I don't have to have all the answers. I don't have to see all the path, but I dig into my faith, I dig into my leadership, and I take just the next step, right? The next step that I can see. So I think those are two things that have served me really well in navigating life, navigating my own leadership moments. Um, you know, and probably I struggle with this one a lot. It's the the asking for help,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The
You're not
the
alone in that one.
yeah, the asking for help, and the asking for what you need and then allowing it. Because
Mm.
sometimes you have help around you. Like, I have
Mm.
an amazing support system around me, and sometimes I don't allow it to support me because I'm the caretaker, right? I'm the
Okay.
one that helps everybody. I'm the leader, right? I'm the oldest in the family. I'm the responsible one. I'm the, you know, it's like,
The
so
coach.
that's the programming, right?
Yeah.
And I chose a profession that plays right into that, right? To
Yeah.
further ingrain that identity. And you know, those moments where you have to go, okay, I need help here. I need help, and understanding that even saying that is actually a way of contributing to others, because people want to support you. People want to be part of your journey. They want to be part of your process. Um, so those are three things that probably the three that are right there for me, that are sort of lessons that I always try to fall back on, and continue to pay dividends. You know, on the yeah on the lessons.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I, want to pause on them to because they're wonderful, and really, what would be the word? Really applicable here,
Yeah,
because so you go through something. It could be anything. You lose your home. Your mother is, getting older and dealing with anxiety, depression, whatever it is that we are going through, that there's these three things, becoming a student, becoming, w- not saying to yourself, "Oh, I know what to do here," but instead, is there a better possibility here? This lesson
yeah,
keeps showing up in my life over and over again. I've had to deal with this thing, and I don't want to deal with it anymore. How can I be a student? And then following into this, having hope and wonderment for the world. You've been told that you have cancer. You've been told that you have lost your corporate job. Many people at that point are, well, this is the worst thing that could happen. But
yeah,
instead, it's, this wonderment of like, what good could come out of this? How can something powerful shift within me that I could have, everything that I want out of this? Even though this experience looks really bleak and dark, what hope can I hold?
yeah.
And then the final point, which is escaping me now. Oh, geez, what was that one?
The the staying a student. Oh, now I lost it too.
Now you
We're doing
lost it too. Yeah.
we're doing a great job here.
We're doing great. We're doing great. That's fine. It'll come back to me. But when like I think that they are really applicable, all 3 points, because they apply to anything. Whether
Yeah,
you're in a leadership role, of the CEO style,
yeah,
kind of that suit style leadership role, or whether you're in the leadership of your own life.
yeah,
Leading, it takes some of those questions that are, they're more rare, and they are not necessarily the status quo of how people
yeah,
deal with difficulty,
yeah,
but when utilized, can be so impactful and make
yeah,
that actual change, that happened for you in your life.
yeah. I think, one of the most powerful questions that you can ask yourself is, what is this here to teach me?
Yeah,
Like, what is this here to teach me? And if you want to go woo woo with it as well, there is
always.
there's a purpose, right? And it's hard to sort of like look at certain things and go, what the F is the purpose in this thing?
Uh-huh.
And I don't
Fine.
I don't know that that means I don't know that that saying for me means that I think people hear that and they think, oh, I deserve this, or that it's like I think the real value in that is whether you believe that it happened to you to teach you a lesson, or whether you believe that there's a lesson for you to learn in any situation. You can approach it in whatever way gives you value there, but I think the value is the same. There's something to be learned from everything, right? And I do,
Yeah.
and if you do subscribe to the woo woo, this you said something really interesting. The lessons that keep showing up, right? The same when something keeps happening to you, that's not by coincidence, guys. Like, come on, like really, like for me, everywhere I went, I had a bad experience at work. Like everywhere that everywhere I went, I was like hiding out from my leadership and avoiding things. No, that's there was a lesson for me to learn there, and until I was ready to do the work and look and dig and learn new things and then go apply those new things that I learned, it didn't transform, right? It didn't transform. And now it's not that it's totally gone because the wounds are always there with us, but it doesn't impact me in the same way. I can recognize it quicker, and I also have the ability to navigate them with power instead of avoiding them. Right? pain, like the trigger's there. Like it's like, ooh, scary moment. Okay. Like, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Okay, what are we gonna do here? Okay, breathe. Okay, and you do whatever thing you pull out of your magic bag in that moment. There's so many, right? But the point is, we're gonna move forward. We're gonna move forward, and we're gonna, where I think people get stuck and never wanting to experience that trigger again,
Yeah.
right? And that's not
Hmm.
the game. And so we
No,
get caught in this game, and so now you're playing this game of how do I stop this from experiencing this, and then you get stuck in a loop of what's wrong with you because now you're trying to essentially stop being human and experiencing life like we're meant to experience it on this planet. And then so all of a sudden you get stuck in this loop of what's wrong with you when nothing's wrong with you. You're just doing the wrong work. The work is not to try to shut that down. The work is to experience it, understanding that it's here to teach you something. What am I here to learn? What do you got from me? What do I need in this moment to create safety for myself? Right? What do I need in this moment to facilitate this transition? Sometimes what you need is to go cry and like and go to the corner and eat a pint of Ben and Jerry's. And that's just
gotta
as
love a Ben and
legitimate,
Jerry's.
right?
Yeah.
Now if you're gonna stay stuck there forever, okay, we have a problem. But
Yeah.
if you're giving yourself what you need in that moment to soothe and to get through it and extrapolate the lesson, that's it's all part of the game. It's all part, and all of those are all moments of leadership. You think that leadership is like, I'm not gonna feel pain. No, 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 no. That's nonsense.
Not true
You
leadership.
know? And we've created these like there's all these myths and illusions about leadership. Is one of the reasons I'm so fascinated teaching about it because I'm like, no, what's your authentic expression of leadership? Because mine is, hey guys, I'm scared right now, right? My version, one of the biggest moments I've had in leadership is when I first started public speaking, I would start like I sweat a lot, but when I was on a stage, I would sweat. And I don't have any hair, so it's just like coming down. And I would wear suits because I was pretending to be this suit stuffy guy. So I'm wearing a suit, which makes me hotter. I got sweat
Fine.
stains, so I can't take off the jacket because the sweat stains on the shirt are huge. And I'm sitting there pretending, trying to deliver a presentation, pretending that I'm not sweating. And people are like literally coming up and giving me towels because they're concerned for me. And and my biggest moment was when I started to go in front of the room and just say, "Hey guys, my name is Gary Montalvo, and I'm really nervous right now. I want to make sure I did a good job, and I'm gonna start sweating. And so I have a towel here because I'm gonna start sweating, and we're gonna be and it's gonna be all right, right?" And the moment I did that, I freed myself. Right? I was no
Yeah.
longer pretending to be this like perfect leadership coach. Now, at the
Mm.
time, and well, hold on, I got excited. At the time, the biggest lesson was not even that. What I discovered immediately was that I had the room. The moment I said that, I had the room. The room was with me, and they were going to go on whatever journey I asked them to go because now they were emotionally connected to me because I was vulnerable. Because who couldn't
Yeah.
relate to that being in front of an audience and being nervous? It literally is the number one fear. Like people would rather die than public speak. Like it is. So and I had this aha, this epiphany of like, oh no, I get to do leadership my way, in my authenticity, in my voice. And it gets to look like however I want it to look like, not whatever textbook, or and at the time, what I was gonna say earlier when I got excited was that I think things have changed now. This was back in 2008, but at the time, speaking coaches and leadership coaches would have told me never to do that.
Mm.
Never
Yeah.
to do that. You lose all credibility when you go up in front of the room and you do something like that. I think that it's changing now. I think people are
Hmm.
demanding authenticity now, and I think that
Yeah.
there's a different space. It's probably changed now. But my point is that we have all these examples of people telling us how to be leaders, and the truth is, you have to do your work to discover what that is for you. You
Mhm.
know, you have to, what matters to you as a leader? What are the values that you want to? For me, it's authenticity, right? For me, it's play. That's
Yeah.
not true for other people, right? But those are the values that anchor my leadership and my medicine as I share it with others.
Love
Um,
that.
so everybody has to do that work and ask themselves those questions, and don't think that, it has to be anything other than what's in your heart. And no one can tell you how to lead. That's something that you have to discover for yourself.
Mhm. That reminds me of the third point, the one we forgot,
Ah,
which is like involving your community and asking for help.
good
Yeah,
job, Christine.
ding, thank you. Um, but it really ties in a little bit, doesn't it? Because it's, when you get up there and you you show up vulnerably, and you're not asking for help per se, but you're asking for people to level with you, to be in the same space as
Yeah.
you, to connect with your energy, rather than this leadership role that, like you said, kind of old society has taught us, which is, just close off, stand up straight, this picture of a leader that we get.
Do as I say.
um, yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Whereas, like, the true leadership is involving your community, involving your people, and in order to get through, in this case, public speaking, in other cases, losing a job, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. I just love it. I love it. And another thing that you pointed out that I thought was really poignant and I wanted to pick up on was this avoidance piece. How
Mm.
so many people, how can I never feel this again? I don't want to feel this. And then these lessons keep coming back and back and back. And we get really proficient at avoiding, but we get really, really bad at moving forward in life.
Mhm.
And so then these
Mhm.
lessons show up in different ways. And that's kind of your woo woo. But you're good here in this space. I love a woo woo. But and I think that what can happen with that, unfortunately, is people have this idea that they won't have to feel pain. But what
Mhm.
it is it's like this half decomposed version of life. It's
Yeah.
never fertile soil, and it's also never this beautiful apple that it once was either. So
Mhm.
ultimately where you end up coming to is more pain in the end, had you not just faced it on and, like you said, do the work, than living in this kind of halfway space where you're avoiding but never really moving forward and really
Yeah.
kind of rehashing these lessons.
And it's the kind of pain that there's a kind of pain that develops us, right?
Mm,
There's a kind of pain that grows us. And if you look at most of the major lessons in our lives, most of the major points of growth have very likely come from some sort of struggle, some sort of pain point that
oh,
that that
heck yeah.
you got through, right? So it's very much how we learn and grow. It's you think of the kids as a kid, you fall, you bump your head, you touch that, you go, oh, don't do that again, right? And but then you keep moving and next adventure, and all of a sudden you stick your finger in a different place and you go, oh, don't do that. But when we get older, we don't want to go through that, right? We become really protective. We become very concerned with particularly around our image. So we stop being as explorative, that's the word way you say it, and we
Yeah.
start being more guarded, right? So the pain that gets
Yeah.
caused when you're doing that, it's really more like suffering. It's not really like a pain that's like that has purpose. It's really a pain that comes from identifying with the pain, identifying with the thing that you're holding on. And it's all the interesting thing about it, and this is probably the biggest lie underneath it. On some level, you have to believe that you are somehow fragile or breakable,
Hmm.
right? You have to believe like, oh, this thing is going to break me. And it's like when you start to understand, I'm like, this is not gonna break me. This I'm like you are unbreakable. Like you are stronger than this. You are whatever you say you are. You are a child of God. You are a goddess. You are a king. Like there's you have so much to say about who you really are, in the face of life, right? So, and that's another leadership moment, right? Like claiming that and owning, this is who I choose to be in the world, and this is how I choose to walk every day. And that doesn't mean you're gonna get it right every day, but it becomes your point of center, right? It becomes a point that you come back to, that you remember, your point of remembrance. And so when we're operating under these false narratives that we're breakable, that we can't get through these things, that they're just, and they're lies, they're not based on any actual factual evidence, that doesn't mean you're not going to feel stuff. That doesn't mean it's not going to have really sucky moments, right? That doesn't mean that
Truth.
there isn't gonna be like a ouchie. I'm not gonna tell you it's gonna be all roses and rainbows at all. I will never be one of those people. But I will tell you, on the other side, you will be a different human being.
Mhm.
On the other side of that, if you choose to go through it and you choose to do the work that's being asked of you as you're going through it, staying empowered, taking care of yourself, asking for support, staying a humble student, like all that work will get you through the other side of whatever it is. And then on the other side, you will be a different human being, right? You will
Mm.
have a hell of a story to tell. You will have grown. You will be a better mom, a better leader, a better, like, whatever it is. There's no way you can go through that. But when you kick and scream and avoid, and by the way, avoiding is like human. Like, it's not, we are avoidant
For
machines.
sure.
So it's not like
Yeah.
it's not like a you problem. But we have something to say about it, right? And that's where the distinction of leadership comes in. You have something to say about the practice of avoiding, and you can start to now develop a different type of practice. You can go, okay, let me put on my big girl pants now, my big boy pants. I have to go have this conversation. I have to go, whatever it is, right? If you can develop that practice, and you will have the muscle to deal with anything in life, right? And because the avoiding just creates more havoc, it just creates more, and it creates the type of pain that doesn't forward growth. It just creates the type of pain that diminishes your power and diminishes your experience of life, and the experience
Mm.
you have of yourself. It's really important, because you start to know yourself as somebody who avoids situation. You start to know yourself as somebody who you can count on. And then the thing about it is, your body starts to also know that about you, and so your body starts to not feel safe. And so now you're like, dealing in other spaces and other stuff, right? So it's like, the biggest way that I can say develop confidence in yourself is practice keeping your word. You want to
Mm.
develop your confidence, just practice keeping your word every day. If you practice keeping your word, your body will start to know itself as like, okay, when Gary says something, he does it, so I can trust him. So when Gary makes
Mm.
these big declarations, I can trust that we're gonna be okay, because he's taking care of us. Like, he's doing what he says he's gonna do, right? And that means,
Mm.
from everything to, I'm gonna eat the right things I said I was gonna eat. I'm gonna, make the phone calls that I said. I'm gonna call the doctor. Like, whatever it is, just practice keeping your word, and you'll start to see a real big shift in your capacity to avoid. It'll become like, I can't avoid anymore, because I gave my word to doing this, and I have to go do it. It's a complete state change.
Wonderful.
Anyway, I went on a rant there.
No, no, you know what, I love how you expl we first we talked about avoidance, then we explained and understood it, and then we came back to it. And something that you said that was really profound a little while back that I was just like, he should write that somewhere, or I should write that
Oh my God,
somewhere.
tell me what it is. So I can
It
write.
was you said avoidance helps you avoid acute pain, basically,
Uh-huh.
acute pain, but it turns instead into suffering.
Mhm.
I just thought that was like so profound because
Yeah.
it's true, you know,
Yeah.
like yes, avoidance accomplishes acute pain, but it instead introduces suffering. And that is just a totally different pain, and one that, I mean, I think I'd rather have the acute pain any day than the
Yeah.
long-term
Yeah,
suffering.
100%. It's like it's like that saying suffering is optional, right? It
Yeah,
really is. Like the pain may not be optional, but the suffering is. I feel like moms understand this really well because so much of being a mom is like just doing crap that you don't really want to do you know what I mean? Like you have to like, okay, I gotta feed the kid. I'm tired, I'm sick, but I gotta get up and feed the kid. Like that is a kind of pain, right? That you're like having to experience in that moment. But you really have like moms have this ability of pushing through pain and understanding that the pain is just like, okay, what's the goal here? Now they're not always great about doing that about themselves, right? And
right.
that's where I
So
call
true.
bullshit on, right? It's like, no, you don't get to be a martyr, just so that your kids have like, their cornflake cereal. Like you also get to
Feel
take care of
exposed.
yourself, right? So, yeah, but we all can do that. We have the ability to experience pain without suffering through it. It's like the
Mhm.
perfect. It's like when you're going and you breathe, right? You go, okay, breathe. Um,
Yeah.
and the opposite is like waiting to jump in a cold pool, and it's like the longer you wait, the harder it gets, the harder it gets, the harder it gets, the colder it gets. But it's like if you just, all right, it's gonna hurt. Let me just get in there and
Yeah.
you get through it, right?
You get it done.
Um,
You get it done. Love
that's
that.
that's the big
Very
baby
cool.
about cold water.
Yeah. Yeah. The cold plunges. It's all the thing, all the rage. Very cool. Well, I'm really grateful to you, Gary, for all of these tips and tricks that you've offered us, for our own internal leadership.
Yeah,
And I really do like the way that you use leadership in your coaching. I recall when we first met and first spoke, I was thinking of that CEO, that tall standing up, and
yeah,
I said, "Well, I'm not sure if we'd be a good fit to bring you into the podcast or not because we don't have a ton of CEOs or those sorts of things, right?"
yeah,
But now I'm seeing with so much more clarity what you mean by leadership. And
yeah.
that is the leadership moments are you
Your
leading
life.
your life in a way that is purposeful and effective, self-fulfilling, etc.
And
And that's
authentic.
and authentic. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And that is true leadership. And so, yeah, so thank you for joining us today and sharing your knowledge.
My pleasure. I This is a lovely conversation. I think what you're doing is, with your podcast is just really beautiful work, and I'm honored because I host my own podcast. I host the Ownership Game, and so I know what it's like to bring someone into your world, and sometimes guests will knock on our door and they don't, and it's like you just want something, right? So I hope that I contributed. I wanted to make sure that I can honor your space because I think you've creating a beautiful space, and I wish you a lot of luck.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and if anyone does want to connect with you about leadership, I know I've got a couple of links that you've given me, so we
Yeah.
can connect them there, and then those people can connect with you.
Yeah, it'd be a pleasure. Thank you so much. Even if it's just to say hi.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Bye, Christine.